So I looked long and hard and I could not find a single video on the internet that showed somebody replacing their valve cover gasket with the motor mounted onto their CB750 like this one, period. I completely reassembled this engine when the bike was taken apart, and then unfortunately when I started the bike up, I got an immediate brisk oil leak coming from right here, right in here. And I realized it was completely coming from the valve cover gasket, period. So what I've done here so far is I've removed all of the screws, which this screw right here is the most challenging one to remove because it hits the frame, period. And there they are, including the breather cover. So I told myself there's no way I was going to unmount this engine to get this valve cover gasket changed. So people have talked about being able to do it with the bike on, and I wanted to see if it was possible. And fortunately it is. Okay, so one of the things that made me realize how easy this was going to be was the fact that removing the old valve cover gasket ended up being very easy. So here it is. I've completely taken all of the screws out, and as you can see, my valve cover completely pops off, and pretty much you lift it up, and this is the old cover gasket, and you just get it up. And the only thing I have to remove is the breather tube. And there it is. It's off. And this immediately showed me what I did wrong. Even though these look parallel, they're not. And as you can see, I put mine on backwards. And my screw holes weren't lined up. And I cut the gasket. Here it made a new screw hole, and there it went clean through the gasket. So what that told me is I had this little notch on the wrong way. It turns out this notch needs to be on the left side of the bike. So here's my new gasket. It's a Vesra gasket. And here's my notch. And it's on the left side of the bike. And we're going to lay this down right on top. And we're going to slowly lift it up. It very easily goes around. You loosely get it around. And the hardest part is dealing with the intersection, but what helps is utilizing the dowels. And once it's on the dowels, it's pretty set. And then you go around and make sure it's on. And now you can see how easy that was. And I'm going to show you something very, very specific to make sure that you got it on right and that your symmetry is correct. So here's the most crucial part, that to make sure you got this thing on right, you need to lift and really get a good look at this point right near the cam chain. That the furthest back gasket hole lines up with that furthest back screw hole right there by the cam chain, and that tells you that you're symmetric. Because you can't look here, and you can't look at the other screws like the dowel right here, because they will line up perfectly even if your gasket is backwards. It is this screw hole right there. And of course the one on the other side. If they line up, then you know you're correct.